Nigeria, he was involved in, ending colonialism there and different disputes that were happening, the Biafra War, these kind of things. He was involved politically. He was somebody that was involved in the Palestinian struggle. He was close to Hajj Amin al-Husseini. He traveled to Palestine a lot and he campaigned for the rights of Palestinians, and he raised awareness for the Palestinian cause in West Africa. He was somebody that 1964 King Faisal invited him to become one of the founding members and the vice president of the Muslim World League. And there were only 7 founding members at the time. Sheikh Ibrahim Niyass was one of them. The Muslim World Congress in Pakistan with Maulana Maududi, he was a part of that. He even traveled to China in 1964 and he had a meeting with Zhou Enlai, who was the premier of communist China at that time. And they were talking about Islam in Africa and the different, politics and global politics at a time when Senegal didn't even have a diplomatic mission in China. And this was all through his religious knowledge, his religious scholarship, and his religious diplomacy. This was somebody who traveled throughout Europe in the 60s. This was somebody who traveled to places that we didn't even know or hear about. There were places I didn't know about in the world until I read them in Sheikh Ibrahim Niass's book, that he traveled to through Dawah, through all these different things. And then he's somebody that has left such a major impact on the Muslim world in ways that we know and in ways that we don't know. So, for example, recently documents have come out about his involvement in helping the King of Morocco re-establish himself as the king after the French had exiled him to Madagascar. Sheikh Ibrahim was the only one given permission by the French government to visit King Hassan II in Father Mohammed V in Madagascar. He was part of those diplomatic fusions. All of these different things that were happening. And then even if we look at scholarship in the world today, it's very interesting to note that, for example, in West Africa alone, the Mufti of Nigeria, Sharif Ibrahim Saleh Husseini, was a student of Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. I've sat with him many times here in Cairo. He has a house here. He has many students here. And he is somebody that he's a proud student of Sheikh Ibrahim. And not only that, but the Mufti of Chad is his student. He has a large following in Sudan as well. He has students across the Arab world in different places. All of that can be traced to Sheikh Ibrahim Niass, his silsila. So I've seen, for example, Habib Ali go to visit Sharif Ibrahim Saleh Husseini, sit on the floor, Sharif Ibrahim Saleh sitting on the chair, teaching hadith, giving them ijazat that come from Sheikh Ibrahim. I have a teacher myself, Muhammad Al-Khamis Sulaiman, who teaches in Dar al-Mustafa in Yemen. He's also taught in India and different places. He's a student of Sheikh Ibrahim Saleh Al-Husseini, and he teaches the family of Habib Omar in Tariq. And so you see like the circles of knowledge just outside of Tariqa, just in fiqh, in hadith, in all of these different, in Mauritania, one of the biggest scholars that we have in Mauritania called Muhammad Hassan al-Ahmed al-Khadim. He was the person who gave Sheikh Hamza the ijazah for the book Purification of the Heart. And when Sheikh Hamza would study, he studied it from his commentary. He's a student of one of the students of Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. The Mufti of the Chief Imam of Ghana, Sheikh Usman Sharbutu, was a student of Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. In the Gambia, Chief Imam of Gambia today, Imam Cherno Maska, his father was a student of Sheikh Ibrahim Niass. Most of the royal families in northern Nigeria, all of these different places, you see the influence of his scholarship. And as one person to have affected thousands of people who go on to affect thousands of people, I feel as though that's a very, very important person for us to know in Muslim history, so in Black history and African history, that there were African scholars as late as 1975 who had impacted the world and continue to impact the world in that way. And I feel like that's an underrepresented side of scholarship that deserves to be known. And just not looking at scholars from one angle. So for many people, even when you Wikipedia and you type in Sheikh Ibrahim Niass's name, the first thing that comes up is his Sufi affiliate or his spiritual side. Nobody talks about his politics. Nobody talks about his scholarship. Nobody talks about his network of students. Nobody talks about his political justice. And these are things that are just as important, if not more important, than those things, because they're just as relevant or even more relevant to modern society than the spiritual aspect. Because spirituality is meant to transform into you having the grounding to establish khilafah in the earth and to fight for justice in the earth, and how your interaction, once you know Allah, then your interaction with the creation of Allah, how does that manifest? And so if we know that the tariqah and the spirituality is a path for you to know Allah, when you have that knowledge of Allah, how does that manifest in your actions? When you look at Sheikh Ibrahim's actions and how he dealt with global politics at the time and how he dealt with the Muslim world at the time and the issues that the Muslim world were facing, I feel like all of that is an interesting study, a case study, and how the authenticity of African scholarship was able to do that. This is somebody that studied in a small village in Senegal, but when he went to Al Azhar, which was the center of Islamic learning in the Arab world, they allowed him not only to become a member of the board of the scholars of Al Azhar, but he also was one of the first non-Azharis to lead Salatul Jummah in Al Azhar Mosque in 1962, I believe. So all of these things are aspects of me that I think need to be, explored and spoken about. Yeah. And then being able to have the privilege to have studied with his children and his grandchildren. I took Shahada with his grandson. I studied Quran with his granddaughter. I studied books with his sons, and I've received ijazah from his sons. That's something that I prize highly in my own spiritual development. Yeah.